Head-to-head competition in Sugar Ray Leonard's Golden Gloves. It's been a dandy thus far, and it is here in the first round of this fight.
Michael Nunn has a little bit too much experience for Steve Johnson.
Michael Nunn has been fighting for 9 years. Johnson for only 2.5. Well, he had him in trouble early in the round. Now it's settled down a little bit. Johnson doesn't look really stylistic at all.
Well, Johnson's making a mistake from the start in his style. He's moving away from the much taller Michael Nunn. He has to be inside, work the body, because he's too short and he can't afford to stay back.
Michael Nunn landing again. Johnson hasn't really won a point in this round. There's the left. He's gone to that bolo punch about 4 times.
Michael Nunn is throwing that bolo punch. But throwing that punch is, I tell you, you're always in position to get hit, especially by a counter right hand.
There's the end of an action-filled first round. And Ray, I was a little surprised he went to the bolo as much as he did.
Well, Michael Nunn, he's getting away with it. As a matter of fact, he's controlling the tempo of the fight.
Michael Nunn in his corner. Let's listen to his instructions.
Be cautious when you're coming. When you get him on the rope, listen. Get him on the rope. Be very cautious. I'll tell you why. He's strong. He's trying to set you up for a hook. Downstairs in a hook. So don't wait for the hook. You get him on the ropes. Step back where you got your range on him. Keep snapping your punches out at him. So you're first. You're first. Don't let him suck you into those ropes. That's what he wants. Boxing him. Good boxing. Keep it up. Keep boxing. I want to see those hands. I want to see those hands up, Mike. I want to see the hands up, okay? Be first. Stay out on range.
Michael Nunn's corner gave him very good instruction. And one of the main and most important things they told him was to keep his hands up. Because Steve Johnson, the short of the two, is fighting inside and rushing him. So he has to keep his hands up because he don't know what punch is going to be thrown.
Now, here's something interesting that happened between rounds. Steve Johnson took his headgear off.
I don't think that was advisable. I really feel that the inexperienced Steve Johnson should have kept his headgear on. But because a lot of fighters feel that it hampers their vision and movement.
Well, he is without headgear here in round number 2. And Michael Nunn was a relatively easy winner of round number 1. Johnson from Junction City, Kansas. Michael Nunn from Bluegrass, Iowa.
The way Steve Johnson is roughing up Michael Nunn, we might say a headbutt because these guys, they fight inside. And they're throwing punches from the body to the head, rabbit punches, illegal blows.
Really looks like a little bit of a wrestling match over in the corner. There's the bolo again. Crowd loves it. Right hand, and Johnson has become very aggressive.
Johnson's throwing that bolo punch, but I think what's going to happen, he's going to wear himself down.
Our referee is Floyd East here in this fight, and he's got his hands full.
Well, a fighter like Steve Johnson gives you trouble every second.
I think he may have stunned Michael Nunn there, Ray, for just a second.
I think he stunned him and it surprised Michael Nunn because in the first round, it seems as though Michael Nunn was going to run away with a clean victory, and a very easy victory. But here we see Steve Johnson is not letting up.
Well, this has suddenly become a whale of a fight because Johnson is really coming on. Now, we may have a warning. No, just a separation from Floyd East. Johnson and Nunn, round number 2, welterweight fight. Little of the authority of Michael Nunn's punches seems to have left him.
Well, he's been winging his punches. He's been throwing those roundhouse blows under and over, and it may have taken some out of them.
Well, we listened to the instructions last round from the Iowa corner. Let's hear what they've got to say to Steve Johnson in the Kansas, Oklahoma corner.
All right, you can do it. Now you're back in the fight. Okay? Make him work, Steve. Make him work in the straight right hand and left hook, okay? Make him work and he'll quit this round, Steve. Okay? Just keep throwing that right hand to the back of the head and left hook. Left hook to the back of the ring.
You hear me? Take the center of the ring. Don't get in there on them ropes.
Make him look bad. Make him look bad. Sugar Ray's watching you. Make him look bad.
Be on top of him. You got right.
Use that. I thought we were going to box him. Box him. Box him.
That's what I want you to do. You listen? Be out there. Be out there boxing and moving. He charges. Step off. Throw it left.
Use that right jab yours. Use it. Make him look bad. Throw him straight.
You're off.
Well, different instructions from both corners. Michael Nunn was told to box Steve Johnson. Johnson's corner told him to stay inside, left hooks and right hands, which he's been pretty effective by throwing them.
Steve Johnson, the short youngster, 5'7" welterweight, lived in Germany for 6 years, and has lived in Kansas for the past 3. He's 20. Michael Nunn is 18. Nunn, an easy winner in round number 1. There he has it. That was kind of an open-faced, open glove shot, though.
It would have did more damage if Michael Nunn had his gloves closed. He's slapping pretty much so now. One thing you have to notice about these guys, they're taking some big punches, which prove they're in tip-top shape.
I just wonder if we're not going to see two extraordinarily fatigued fighters here in round number 3.
Well, they've been going at it from round 1 up until now.
Michael Nunn looking over in his corner. He acknowledges the advice that was shouted up at him. Meanwhile, a moment of rest now because the glove will be tied of Steve Johnson. Johnson fighting only 2.5 years. Michael Nunn fighting for a total of 9 years. They're going to make sure those laces are tight. Michael Nunn out of the West Davenport boxing team. Now Floyd East says, let's get back at it. Johnson with a left. Nunn trying. Now Johnson going to the body.
It's going to be very difficult to score this fight.
Why so?
Well, both men are landing punches. Michael Nunn, he's boxing, he's throwing more cleaner blows, whereas Steve Johnson is the aggressor. And these are the way you score points or score a fight, by aggressiveness and clean blows. And they're doing half and half.
Now Michael Nunn is found to reserve, Ray.
Well, Michael Nunn should take control and not get... What can you say about this guy? What can't you say about him? He's doing everything.
Except that he is now assuming... Now, how important is it that he's coming on late in the fight?
Very important, because the judges remember the first and the last round. Believe it or not, there's always that psychological edge that you have on judges.
Johnson, I don't think he went down from the force of a blow. I think he's just absolutely exhausted. And we're in the latter stages of round number 3, and Nunn, you can see the enthusiasm growing from him. This has been a whale of a fight.
It's been an action-filled round. I think the way that Michael Nunn's been displaying his talent, it should gain him a victory.
There it is, Michael Nunn. He looked down at Sugar Ray Leonard. Steve Johnson comes over, congratulates the Iowa coach. That was really something.
Let's take a look at some of the punches that were thrown by Michael Nunn. In fact, he has a great deal of showmanship in him. And he's throwing enough punches, I feel, to gain him a victory.
Ray, these two kids have given us a tremendous show. They're waiting now. What goes through your mind while you wait for the decision?
Well, especially in a very close fight, you wonder whether or not you did enough to gain the victory. And it's just a waiting moment.
Do you question? Do you wonder if you did? I mean, do you have in mind whether you've won or lost? Is that sure?
I've always questioned myself in the amateur programs, and I say, wow, did I give it all I had?
Well, let's go find out which one of these kids did. Here's Stan Gallup with the announcement. How about that? Michael Nunn, perhaps he won it in the final 30 seconds of the fight. He came on strong, and Iowa leads it 4 bouts to 3. We'll be back with Sugar Ray Leonard